Oh, hello, hello. And I am live. Yes. Let me just double check as always. Waiting for those notifications that yes, I am live. I see I have visitors here. So yay, I must be live. Wonderful. Always those notifications can be a little delayed. Let me see. Okay, now I'm getting notifications. Yes, hello everyone and Happy New Year. Can you believe it already? 2025. Like, where has the time gone? Let me see. There we are. Okay. I swear sometimes these notifications and things change. There I am. Okay, lovely. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today. It's wonderful to see you all back to share the Janome love. Yes, my name is Michael Smith, the National Education Manager of Janome Canada, and I'm back live from my palatial estate here in Collingwood. I'm about 2 hours north of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. But I'm thrilled to be here in the Janome Sewing Machines Facebook page, Janome America, to again share the Janome love with everyone. And again, that's the joy of technology. We can share the Janome love all around the world. So yay, and my sister Deb is here. Hello. Wonderful to see you all again, everyone. Happy New Year. Can you believe it? Like, wow. But of course, we've got a whole nother year of wonderful sewing fun to share with you. So yes, I am back to share how to get organized. If you were like me, you were sewing like crazy, getting ready for Christmas, getting ready for, special occasions. And all of a sudden, wow, my sewing room looks like a bomb went off. I won't show you what's that way. But yes, what can we, oh, and my mother is here. Lovely. Hello, everyone. Yeah, so what we can do to organize our sewing space, and then we can get ready for a whole new year of creativity. So let me flip around the camera as usual. I've got lots to share with you. Here we go. So there are lots of things. Look at all these wonderful goodies I have to share with you all. So there's lots of things that we can either purchase very conveniently from our Janome dealer, double check too. A lot of our Janome dealers now have like online stores of their own, and they will also ship things. So if you don't have a Janome dealer right in your neighborhood, still go on to our respective websites, check to find the dealers in your area, and maybe they can ship things to you. That's another alternative. And then again, some of these other items I'm going to show you, you can easily make yourself regardless of what Janome machine you have. So here I'm on my fabulous CM17 as usual. But again, a lot of the little things that I'm going to share with you can be, for any machine on how to clean up your sewing area. So one of the first questions I get asked a lot is, about things like, look at this magnetic, beautiful Janome Pin Pal, magnetic pin cushion. And a lot of people ask us all the time. Now, these are available, again, from your Janome dealer. Now, these we get asked all the time, can I use a magnetic seam guide or a magnetic pin cushion here next to my especially computerized machine? The advantage, especially when you spill your pins, look at that, how fabulous that is. Very simple, quick, and easy. But yes, if you have a computerized machine that's maybe 40 years old, when they first started coming out, we recommended no magnets around that machine. But now, these sophisticated computerized machines, all those computer components, they're so well protected in the machine. They're so little now, and they're so well protected. It's perfectly fine to use this magnetic Janome Pin Pal. I keep it right next here to the base of my CM17, and no problem at all. Again, I'm not going to hold this up against the LCD screen or anything. But again, think of your smartphone. When you remember those first cordless phones, mobile phones, 30, 40 years ago, they were huge. They were the size of a brick. Well, now think of the smartphones. They're so small. All those, computer components, again, they're so well protected in the machine. So if you've got, again, a like 30, 40-year-old computerized machine, okay, maybe you don't want to use a magnetic device around it just in case. But again, a modern machine, no problem. I've had this, again, Pin Pal next to my CM17 here at home for going on now 3 years, and it's been fine. Now, sure, we can use the Pin Pal for pins, but I love using, look at all of my tools, all my little screwdrivers, my Janome seam ripper, all of those, anything, my 4-inch mini duckling scissors I cannot sew without, all of those stay there on my magnetic Pin Pal. And when I travel, when you go off to a quilt retreat, you go off to a class, you just take this with you. I don't need to worry about packing and anything. I just take my whole Pin Pal with me. So that is great. Now, if you don't want to use a magnetic pin cushion, well, how about these? You know, most of our Janome machines has this little extra hole in the machine, housing of the machine. Now, in many machines, it's kind of around here. It's the auxiliary spool pin holder, and you may have a spool pin that'll clip into the housing of your machine, so then you can wind a bobbin without unthreading the needle. So there's a little hole in most machines, typically around here somewhere. Here in my CM17, there was this little hole here. I'm not exactly sure of its purpose, but look, these cute little adorable polka dot pin cushions. There's a red and white one, there's a pink and white one, a yellow and white, and a blue and white. These fit, they come in this little baggie. There's even instructions, isn't that cute, on how to use it. So this will fit into that auxiliary spool pin. So if you don't want to use a magnetic pin cushion, well, this just works beautifully for your pins and your needles right there out of the way. So this works well. So again, available from your Janome dealer, not that expensive at all. So that is for, you know, pins. Let me see. Well, I'm up here. Again, I've got lots to show you. Being organized will definitely help us make it, our sewing much more efficient. So here on the top of my CM17, we have all these little compartments. And in many of our Janome machines, we have these little compartments on the top. Maybe your presser feet specifically, there's a molded compartment for the actual presser foot, specific presser foot. So definitely utilize that. Here in my CM17, I call this area up here the garage, and I park my feet that I use a lot here in the garage. Well, I try to organize it. Here is my fabulous AccuFeed Flex foot, for example. So I keep all of those feet all stacked together. My regular A foot, I can always find it when I need it. These are my satin stitch feet, the F2 open toe foot, or the satin stitch foot, the closed toe. Again, all up here together, like items together. Any foot with a guide, like our O foot, 1/4 of an inch foot with a guide. There's one without a guide as well. But I have things like, oh, the G foot, the blind hem foot, any foot with a guide that I use a lot. Again, I just keep all like items together. Very simple and easy to organize. Items like, ooh, let's go way up here. Now here I have a thread stand on the back of my CM17, but I love with my red binder clips, of course, since Janome's color is red. I clip my little brush that we need to clean out our bobbin area. Regardless of our machine, we have to keep out that bobbin area clean. So it's nice to keep this little brush here with the binder clip on the edge of my telescoping thread mast. It does not get in the way of the thread coming down at all. If you wanted, you could remove it if you needed to, but again, I don't need to remove it. So I just like keeping that little brush up here handy. So if you have a thread stand for your machine, maybe you've got room to attach just with a little bulldog clip there. And again, very simple and easy from the office supply store. Or speaking of those bulldog clips, oh yes. How about this for our, if you have a Continental machine, ooh, look at this giant cloth guide. Now this I just keep with a bulldog clip around the thread mast here of my machine. All of the Continental machines have this built-in telescoping thread mast. I just use a big binder clip, a big bulldog clip, to clip my cloth guide here to the machine. So it's always out of the way, but it's right at my fingertips when I need it. So isn't that cool? So that works out really good. Now, even while I'm up here, I'll just go little things to keep organized. How about this? So at my machine here for my CM17, we have this little hook. Now this is for when we do embroidery couching, and I leave this hook on my telescoping thread mast the whole time. And what I've done is in this little plastic baggie, there's my 2 embroidery couching feet. There's the little funnel that I need for the embroidery couching. And I just bulldog clip it here to my little yarn guide. When I'm going to do embroidery couching, I'm going to use one of these feet and the little funnel. So then I'll take this away and put my yarn there. So again, it just keeps everything neat and organized. Now, when we talk about embroidery couching, again, very quickly, embroidery couching, we're using yarn in the embroidery functions of our machine, again, to couch it on to our fabric here. So isn't that gorgeous? You can go on the Janome Life blog to read out more about yarn couching specifically. But it's nice to keep all of those items that you would use together for that embroidery couching. And what I do, I couldn't find a little Ziploc baggie, so instead I created my own. Here's a little sandwich bag. And what I did is I stitched down one side, I stitched down the other. I'm going to now cut it apart. Like, how simple is this? This is a great use for those dull needles, those needles that are getting dull. Go ahead and make yourself these little custom little zipper baggies. And then now we can keep all of our like items together. So this is another good way to stay organized. You keep all the like items together. So sew yourself some little zipper baggies. That works really good. So yes, then that is how to keep some tools at your machine nice and organized. Here is another thing we could use. Ooh, let's go way up here. This fabulous tool organizer. This is from Tudo. Let me just swing it around here. This is a Tudo tool embellishment holder. So here in Janome, Canada, we carry Arrow products and Tudo bags that we carried at one point, and we have these Tudo accessories or Tudo embellishment holders. So again, double check with your Janome dealer. I'm not certain if Janome America carried these as well, but double check with your Janome dealer what they may have. These are really wonderful. It's an A-frame like this that sits on your table, but then you just pack it away. There's a convenient handle. You pack it away and look at all your tools. Oh, geez. All your tools that you can keep near you. All your snips, your screwdrivers, your pens, everything. And then this side, this is my favorite when I do my seminars at the various dealer stores. All my Janome needles, you can never have too many. All the various needles here, my marking tools, everything. These cute little ring thread cutters. Aren't those adorable? So double check with your Janome dealer what little Janome goodies they have. They can make your sewing so much faster, easier, more enjoyable by keeping everything organized. So this Tudo tool embellishment holder, it comes in a variety of colors. So again, see what your Janome dealer has in stock in their store that you can, again, just keep here at your sewing table. All your tools are there at your fingertips when you need them. And then great, again, when you're going to go off to a class. So that's super simple and easy to do. Oh, now, yes, things at our table specifically, again, to stay organized. Well, bobbins, I'm of the opinion you can never have too many bobbins. And of course, Janome makes it easy. We've got these beautiful 25-pack of the pink cherry blossom bobbins, since Janome is Japanese. Cherry blossoms, very special. Or again, we've got the beautiful blue butterfly. So maybe to stay organized, you're going to use these blue bobbins, for example, for all of your 100% cotton quilting thread. And maybe you're going to use, the red bobbins that we have now. Maybe these red bobbins are going to be all of your embroidery thread, for example. Or then we also, Janome turned 100, let's see, in 2021. So we're now 103, coming up 104 this year. But we still have a lot of these 100th anniversary bobbins, at least here in Janome, Canada, in our warehouse. So we actually have a whole... In Janome, Canada, we have a whole bundle of all these bobbin boxes. So double check with your Janome dealer. But yes, then you can customize and organize your threads based on the color of your bobbins. Or how about this? 25 million or 75 million machines. Can you believe it? It's 1921 is when we were incorporated. So can you believe that? 75 million machines and counting. So yes, all of these bobbins available from your Janome dealer. You can keep all your bobbins organized like this. They fit in the drawer very easily this way. You can travel with them this way very conveniently. They make great stocking stuffers as well for gifts. But so that's a good way to stay with your bobbins organized. But how about, sometimes the lid, you see the little pins here broke after these bobbin cases, after you've had them for, a good maybe 10 years or so, and you drop them and sometimes the lid breaks off. Well, you can still use the bobbin portion of it to hold all your bobbins. And then I thought a great way to keep our table a little more organized. How about you use the lid? Again, the lid won't work on this box anymore, but the lid, don't throw anything away. You turn the lid over. I put this little padding in between, a little spongy foam in between. And with an embroidery I had left over, this little test sample from 2025. This was courtesy of Janome Australia, actually, this 2025 embroidery. And all I did was cut it down with a little bit of this beautiful Madeira multicolor thread. I used some of the applique stitches built into my machine just to cover the edge, make it a little more special. Hot glued it down. That's all I did. So simple, so easy. But now it's a pin cushion. It's a needle cushion. I can lay this next to my machine. My needles are organized, and isn't that fun? So as you're doing these experimental embroideries, don't waste them. You use them, cut them up, and then again, with a little bit of decorative stitches in your machine, you can embellish it further, and now there is a purpose to hold my needles. Speaking of bobbins, another thing we can do, Janome had circular bobbin holders like this. Now we have a square bobbin holder, which is great. Rubbery material, so again, it doesn't vibrate off of our sewing table. So we keep all of our bobbins here. Great. You take this off to class. When I go to my seminars, again, at the various dealer stores, I just pop this in my bag with me. Now, what I do, this square bobbin holder in particular holds 66 bobbins, but it will even fit, again, the big M-class bobbins for our Quiltmaker Pro, Quiltmaker long arm machines. It'll even fit here. It just accommodates so beautifully. But this little bit, people always say, when my bobbin sensor goes off, like in our CM17, we have a low bobbin indicator. When it goes off, there's a little bit of bobbin thread left over. Same on the 550E, for example, Memorycraft 550E, there's a little bit of bobbin thread still on my machine. Well, I don't worry about that. I put it in this bobbin saver here, and this is what I'm going to thread in my needle. I have a big, full bobbin in my bobbin area. But when I'm doing my little piecing, little patchwork piecing, 1/4 inch quilt piecing, here I invert the big spool holder to make like a shelf. Then I put a bobbin and then cap it with the medium size spool pin. This then thread is what I use there. And this is what I use to do my piecing for my quilts. Or again, if I've got a small project, I'm doing some mending, some basting, I use the thread this way. Now, sure, I'm going to end up threading my needle more, but I have a built-in needle threader in my machine, so no problem. But at least that way I'm using up all these little bits of bobbin thread. So that's why I specifically keep them in this bobbin holder. I know it's all my little leftover Janome pre-wound bobbins. This is also a great way to stay organized at your sewing table. You get these pre-wound bobbins from your Janome dealer. They come in white, they come in black. They're a 60 weight thread, so a good all-purpose general thread, great to use in your embroidery machine. They come on the Janome J bobbin, so you get a plastic bobbin to reuse once these are all done. And then again, you can organize them in your bobbin saver here, or again, Janome used to have the circular ones. But what I've done with this one, you see, I've written 60 weight thread. So I know this side is my 60 weight thread, which was my Janome pre-wounds, because I don't want to keep that cardboard necessarily. So I keep them in here. These are my pre-wounds. And then on this side, I wrote 90 weight Janome bobbin thread. So when we have our embroidery machine, again, we have this 90 bobbin thread, or again, it comes in a big cone like this. So when I'm winding those bobbins, they stay on this side, and I keep them separated by these clear bobbins. So I know that's my 90 thread. And again, I've labeled my bobbin holder, and I've even labeled the bobbin holder in there embroidery. So I know these are the bobbins that I use in my embroidery machine, and I keep these in a drawer next to my machine. So it's wonderful to have all these tools, again, separate. You can buy all of these bobbin boxes to keep all your bobbins separate. There's a bobbin for every purpose. So then let's continue. As I'm keeping my area next to my machine, oh, look, I must say it doesn't always look this neat, but things like having a home for everything nearby your machine. So for example, I used to keep most of my tools on this. Do you see I've got some embroidery under there? I tried some yarn couching. I did some decorative stitches. This sample has been used a lot, and I kept it next to my machine, and this is what I would keep my tools on. Well, then, of course, as I got more and more tools, I needed a bigger piece. So that has definitely served its purpose. So now, oh, look, I've made this beautiful mat. It's out of felt. Now, you could use any fabric you wish. And in fact, next week, I'm going to show how to make this mat. It's got, again, that little spongy flex foam. This brand is called, it's Pellon Flex Foam here. Again, spongy. There are many different manufacturers. You can even zigzag it together, so you use every little scrap. But that's what I have in the bottom to make this little pin needle cushion there. And then this is what I have in this mat. So then I have a little bit of cushioning. So with the decorative stitches built into your machine, this is one of the heirloom stitches, for example. So I thought, oh, this ladder stitch, perfect. I can keep the needles that I'm using. Maybe I need to switch out the needles, so they're still good to reuse. I'm just going to park them here so I know I don't lose track of them. I don't step on them. And then here, they're perfectly good to use. So with this little ladder stitch, I thought that was a great way to wrangle in the needles. So this little mat, again, I'll show you how to make it specifically in another live. But again, nice just to keep your tools there. Another practice embroidery from Janome, Australia. Perfect time to use our beautiful multicolor threads, metallic threads, some specialty threads. You keep all your tools here. For example, when I mentioned the cloth guide for the continental machines, well, here's the other little metal cloth guide that comes available with some machines, and it's in a blister pack. It's nice to keep it here next to the machine when you need it. Oh, things like my stiletto. I even had one of our dealers here in Canada made me this one. Isn't that cute with my name? So my stiletto, my seam ripper. Oh, my little Janome manual needle threader. Yes, still with the needle that I could reuse. Again, it's nice just to keep those tools nearby. And the vibration from the machine sewing at top speeds, your tools are not going to fall off on the floor by having this mat here to absorb that and keep everything organized. Now, these cute little, speaking of needles, how about you make yourself these cute little felt, very inexpensive, felt, get it at the craft store. You make yourself these little baskets. And here I have a variety of Janome needles with a labeled basket using the decorative stitches built into my machine. Now, you could also, with the fonts built into the machine, but you could also embroider this while you actually make these felt baskets in the embroidery machine. Then you can embroider the label. In this case, for metal bobbins, for example, my original Janome machine is now 33 years old. It is a manual machine, mechanical machine. It's a front loader. It has a separate metal bobbin case. I do not want to use these metal bobbins in my CM17 or any of our lay-in machines. They need to be kept separate. So if you have a 9mm machine and a 7mm machine, for example, then you need to keep some of your pressure feet, or in this case, these metal bobbins. I don't want to use them in my lay-in machine, so I keep them in this little basket. Now, if one day, if I ever get rid of that mechanical machine and I don't need these metal bobbins anymore, I've just basted this. I made this separate label here out of my scraps of felt, and I just basted it on so I could rip this off and then I could still label this basket for something else. I do have some of my little clips here on the basket, so nice and neat. In fact, I realized, oh, I've got more clips. I need a whole new basket for my clips. So where we get these baskets, you go on janome.com or janome.ca. This is a free project in the Inspire tab. And what it is using the embroidery machine. We embroider this basket with the buttonholes here. Again, we've got stabilizer on the back. So this is in the embroidery hoop. And we use felt because then again, we don't have to worry about raw edges. And they're super simple to make. Again, we cut open the buttonholes, and then this flap is how the basket gets assembled, basically like that, and this flap goes in between. So full instructions, again, that's on the Inspire tab of janome.com and janome.ca. Here is where we could label either with the fonts built into the embroidery machine, or I did this after I stitched out needles, for example, after I was done embroidering, and I just use the fonts that are built into my sewing machine to label my basket here. And again, there you see the tabs coming up through the buttonholes. Super fun project to make. The kids would love this. And then, of course, I have to do more. So this little string of thread, for example, is one of the decorative stitches that are built into my machine. So regardless of what decorative stitches you may have, then you can further embellish this bag or this little basket. So isn't this really cute? So again, embellish it and make it your own. So this, and then we cut around all of this and cut in the buttonholes, and it makes a cute little basket. So I'm going to label this for my clips because I love using those clips. So again, cute little project, free project on the Inspire tab of janome.ca and janome.com. Also, when we talk about decorative stitches, oh yes, I had this office set. You go to your discount store, office supply store. I've had this for years. This is actually a memo pad holder, this sort of brown faux leather vinyl holder. It's for a notepad. Well, instead, oh no, I use it for my box of pins, some odd buttons. I did put a little bit of foam in the bottom here, so my little other random pins I can stick in. Oh, I have a spot for my Janome name tag, for example, that I'm always losing. My extra little binder clips here, it's all good. So this is technically office furniture, office supplies, but great for your sewing room. Well, this was a accompanying pen holder that was also that sort of brown faux leather vinyl, but I'm like, oh, that's so boring. Well, instead, just with felt, look at all these beautiful decorative stitches built into my CM17. And again, perfect time to use some multicolor thread, some metallic thread, and you're going to test out. Everybody says, I've got all these decorative stitches. When will I ever use them? This is a perfect opportunity. You're making like a stitch sampler from your machine, all these cute little sewing related. Isn't that adorable? And of course, I have a cat. So yes, she's there too. So here, very simple, use the hot glue gun. I just finished around. I had a little shoelace left over, a little white shoelace. I just hot glued it there. So here for my pens and marking tool, and then even there, I put the rubbery grip on the bottom. So again, when my machine is moving and vibrating, everything, nothing is slipping anywhere. Then here was another one of these pen holders, and I get this in the embroidery machine, more like the sashiko or sashiko quilting, that I just measured the size of my pen holder here and made these little panels. Again, finished them with more of that shoelace. Again, nothing goes to waste in my sewing room. So isn't that cool? So then for my scissors, my snips, my little, seam gauge, I've had that about 30 years, all of my tools, very handy next to my machine, but I'm using my machine to embellish them. So how fun is that? And again, especially with felt, this is all very inexpensive craft felt you get from the discount store. And, we don't have to worry about raw edges. So that's great. Every little scrap. So here I always need a beverage when I'm sewing, and especially when I'm doing my lives and my throat gets so dry, always have water nearby or coffee. So a little coaster is wonderful. And again, some of the decorative stitches built in, even where it says Mike there, I created that in Stitch Composer. There it is, there. That I created that in Stitch Composer. That's also included in a number of our machines. And again, some of the decorative stitches, not only to quilt through all layers, but making this almost like a crazy quilt where I'm just joining all these little scraps of felt. I've got batting in between. I've couched the yarn just with the zigzag stitch all around, so I don't have to worry about binding. So it makes a great little coaster for your sewing machine next to your machine. And again, what I'm going to do, again, with our little scraps of felt, I'm just making, again, like a little crazy quilt. So I'm seaming the pieces together, very simple, seam them together, fold them open, opening the seam allowances. So this will be a coaster, so we want it to lay flat. And then again, you're just testing your decorative stitches. So super simple, fast to make. Now, because this is felt, I could even just butt my pieces together. I don't even have to really sew them. I could just butt them together, and with a big decorative stitch, it would join the pieces together. So that's an option. You use every little scrap. So simple. Now I made these, and again, I mentioned couching yarn on the outside with like the beading feet. I made this recently a few weeks ago when I was talking about using up your Christmas scraps. So you can go back to the Janome Sewing Machines Facebook page, or Janome Canada Facebook, or Janome America YouTube, or Janome HQ YouTube, and you'll see then here how I pieced together all these scraps, layered it with my batting, and then just with a zigzag stitch and the beading foot to run that yarn along the outer edge so it formed like a binding. So these little coasters, super simple, fast, easy to make, just out of scraps. Great little gift idea. And again, a nice little coaster to have a beverage next to your machine, and it's not going to fall over on your table. Now, when we're binding, very quickly with the tape stand, Janome tape stand. I love whatever kind of binding you're going to do, either traditional French fold, or here is a 2-inch strip I use with my quilt binder attachment. But this binder stand, you see how you wind up your binding all nice and neat, and it just stays right there. So then it's not all over the floor. You're not wheeling over it in your chair. The cat isn't getting into it. It's all nice and neat. And then here you put your pins, your little clips, whatever tools. It all stays nice and neat next to your machine. So there's all these little things that you can either make or then certainly you can purchase from your Janome dealer to keep all of your tools nice and handy. As usual, I feel like, oh, there's so much more to share and show, but there's always another opportunity for another live. So let me flip the camera around. And lovely, there I am. Okay, wonderful. So yes, do double check with your Janome dealer and see what little goodies that they have to help you organize your sewing space. And make sure you double check our Janome Life blog. There's a lot of previous blogs about staying organized and how to organize your sewing space. Look forward to upcoming lives that we're here for the whole month to share little tips and tricks to help get us organized in general. We've got, again, more Janome Life blogs coming up about being more organized in your embroidery files. And Hein is doing a lot of organizational tips when it comes to using embroidery files and all of that. So check her lives in the Artistic Digitizer Facebook group as well. And then, yes, I've got some more lives coming up on how to make that little simple, easy mat for your machine, and as well how to, in about 2 weeks' time, I'm doing how to organize our pressure feet, because there's always so much. So thank you, everyone, so much for joining me today, and I hope you have a fabulous day. Bye.